actually has an impact on cat rescue for the year.
Okay, do tell.
Because this is the time of year when unspayed female cats are going into heat. And when they go into heat, of course, it, you know, brings all the boys to the yard. And when it's raining like this, they just hunker down. So there's less mating, so there's fewer kittens.
Okay, let's get...
So not only do we need the water because of the potential drought here in Southern California, but if there's fewer kittens
That's true.
are born on the streets, then it just makes it easier for everyone to cope.
Except for us. Oh, you guys with the snow, I understand. Look at if I go home barefoot, we'll know why. Hi, everybody. Okay.
The unfortunate thing about the rain is it looks like we have a leak in the storm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where?
It's probably coming from the vent.
Oh,
yeah,
I
you
see
can see it.
Oh, my.
So that means that through on the roof side, where it's punching through the roof, we just have to put some sealer. I know this because this happens in my house.
Oh, and mine. Well,
so,
it's going to rain on the new family, the new three?
By raining, it's not like it's torrentially pouring. There's just like a little bit of a drip. So we're just going to have to put a towel down here and clean it up. Because obviously we can't go on the roof and start sealing things.
You can, not me. Okay, hi everybody. This is my 7th one I've done, but the first time we've had rain. So Ben, yours is extraordinary. Just let me rescue my shoes. Okay. This is Ben.
Hi.
Everybody knows he's president of Kitten Rescue, and hang on, it's okay.
Left him this morning, but I can come back.
Yeah,
about 45 minutes or an hour. Yeah,
well,
we'll
be
done
going to
by
be
1.
moving these guys out anyway.
You're going to be what?
We're moving this family out and bringing 3 new kittens in anyway, so we're going to not, we shouldn't replace the food an hour before they leave.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to go like, what, 1:30?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Okay, as you can see, this is not a professional outfit here. Our broadcast studio is weird. So, okay, I've been hoping to get Ben on interview for a long time, for 2 years, and then I finally asked him and he said yes. So, before we get into kitten rescue stuff.
I reserve the right to storm out of this interview though.
Uh-oh! Well, okay, before we get into Ben's life story and everything else that you have asked me, I know everybody wants an update of our child, Buttercup. So, we were in there with her this morning. In fact, she almost peed on me, but she was nice. She got off and went on the bed instead. What can you tell us, the latest that you're able to tell us?
Well, we've been training her to pee on you, and apparently it's not working very well.
No, I'll have to go back Monday and make sure she does it right on me.
So, where we're at with Buttercup is that she has leukemia. The confirming tests, we got the results late yesterday, and there were 2 tests that were done, a PCR, which looks for viral DNA in the blood, which we knew was going to be positive because she had tested positive using the regular SNAP test.
Yep.
But it was done anyway. And an IFA, which is a test that looks for the presence of antigen to the virus in the white blood cells. And that result is meant to indicate that the infection has gone into the bone marrow. And that was positive too, which is actually a surprise for a couple of reasons. One is that the fact that her lymph nodes are swollen does suggest that this is recent acute infection rather than something that she's had for a long time, which is normally what happens when you have a positive IFA. And 2, just we don't know where this came from. Like, nobody else has tested positive. And if this was like 10 years ago and we got this testing results, we would, you know, shrug our shoulders, throw our hands up in the air, start like wailing and rending our garments. And the reason we're not doing that is in the last 1.5 or 2 years, we have now had this happen with 4 different cats, including 2 in the last 3 months, where cats who had previously tested negative and were perfectly healthy suddenly presented acute signs of illness or signs of acute illness, tested positive on the confirming test, showing it was in the marrow, and then a month later completely recovered and tested negative on both tests.
Was that with or without medication?
Without antiviral medication, just with regular supportive care, fluids, antibiotics for other infections.
I meant that other medicine.
Yes, no, that was not using the antiviral immunostimulant. And what that means is, and in both cases we've consulted with the pathologists at the lab that does the testing, and they're like, huh? So whenever you get a pathologist to say, it means something weird is going on. And then Brother T and Kona, who you may remember from the sanctuary, they also had alternate tests, positive, negative, IFA, regular test, and it just never any kind of conclusion with no outward signs of illness at all. And what we ended up doing with them is just sort of assuming that because it kept alternating positive, negative, that they had to be like immune carriers, and so they ended up getting integrated with the FELV crew.
Oh.
But with Buttercup, just because of her background and because we're not finding an obvious smoking gun as to how she could have gotten it, with retroviruses, I mean, as far as we know, she was born to a mom who at some point in her life was exposed to feline leukemia. And she could have transmitted some of that virus into Buttercup as a baby. And then it just lay dormant until something else happened and Buttercup got sick. And she has these chronic...
UTIs.
Well, they're not UTIs
or
as
whatever
much as cystitis.
Yeah.
Whereas she has this inflammatory condition in her bladder, and it just shows up by her peeing blood. And if she just had a particularly bad attack of that, she could have just released some virus in her. And we're seeing the results of that. And then after a month or 2 months or something, she may revert to negative. So now let's say that that's not the case, and that the case is that there was a patient zero. We don't know who that patient zero is. That patient zero could have been positive for a temporary period of time, had a successful immune response and is now testing negative, but in that window of time infected her, and she ended up infected. By giving her this immunostimulant, we are increasing the chances of her still having a successful immune response, throwing the virus off, not being actively viremic, and being able to be mixed with her sisters again. So in sort of kind of the worst case scenario infection, we're proceeding ahead with giving her this treatment because it can help. This treatment is something that was developed about a decade ago. And it was, I should say the use in cats is about a decade old. But before that, it was, when it was still in the invention stage, it was percolating, was hoped to be a treatment for HIV in people. And when they were evaluating it and testing it, one of the things they did was get a bunch of FIV cats, because the FIV virus and HIV virus are so similar, and they found it to be wildly effective with FIV cats, not so effective with people. So they abandoned the people angle, and that's why no one's ever heard of it, because, no offense to you guys, there's just not a lot of money to be made in cat medicine, in specialized cat medicine, so it doesn't get a huge amount of development at first. But because the viruses have kind of similar properties, even though they're completely different viruses, they also were testing it about a decade ago on leukemia cats. This is a local company, and they're like, well, where are we going to find a bunch of leukemia cats? So somehow they found us.
Wow.
I don't know how.
Okay. And
they're like, look, we have this immunostimulant, here's the data, it's, there's no side effects, it just stimulates the production of T cells, which help attack the virus and reduce the viral load. Would you be willing on doing a course for your cats, and we'll just do weekly blood work to check on them? We're like, this might help leukemia cats, let's do this. So we did it, and about half the cats in that trial went from being positive to negative.
That was my question.
Yeah. So Buttercup may end up, like if a month from now she retests negative, we'll still keep her on this thing for a year, but we won't keep her on for life. If she doesn't, if it still lingers longer than that, then she will be on this medicine for life. But it's not going to be like a shot every 3 days like she's getting now.
So they know, what is this procedure? So they know.
So the standard protocol in leukemia cats is to give once a week for a month, and then once every 2 weeks for the second month, and then once a month after that. But that's for treating a cat like an adult cat is persistently infected, where you're just trying to boost the immune system a little bit. We're taking a different approach because she's a cat that had previously tested negative, and we are assuming that somehow she got infected, and we have a chance of fighting the infection off. So we're giving her more frequent treatments than that.
So
it's not harmful.
every 3 days?
Every 3 days, we're just going to do that for a couple weeks.
Okay.
And then we're going to revert to once a week, and then we're going to retest after a month.
Oh, that's,
and
okay.
then sort of decide then.
Excuse me.
But this, all this drug does, it's called leukocyl T-site immunostimulant, I believe.
Glad you can say it.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. It stimulates the production of T4 cells, just natural immune cells that then attack the virus and can reduce the viral load. And since her immune system is fighting the virus, that's why her lymph nodes are swollen.
Oh, yeah.
What we're trying to do is tilt the scales in favor of the successful immune response by giving her an immunostimulant.
Well, she's such a happy girl. I mean, she's such a happy girl, and she's got, she has fans all over the world.
Yes, a tremendous outpouring of support has actually been really
monetary
really
and otherwise. It has been so good that
we've gotten a lot of messages and just a lot of emails and people rooting for her and pulling for her.
Well, whenever I'm here, usually 2 days a week except today, I always make sure I take pictures of her so everybody sees and the videos and stuff like that. So that's where it stands now. We're waiting to see.
Yep, we're treating. We'll probably do the first round of retesting like after a month of treatment just to see where we are. Retesting her is problematic because she hates those vet trips.
Oh, yeah?
And she has apparently she's a big girl, but she's got really tiny veins, so she's not easy to get blood out of her, and we don't want to overstress her out. But those tests that we were doing in there earlier today, you can test using saliva.
Good luck. You better wear your iron gloves.
Well, I already got bit by a kitten trying to do one of those. But still, I mean, it means that we can do some of them in-house rather than have to take her out. But for the confirming test, we do have to take her to the vet. We just don't want to overdo that on her.
One thing I can say, when I take the treat box out and I go, who wants Temptations? She's still jumping all over the place, and she's chowing down on the Temptations, which is good. She has a good appetite.
Right.
So, anyway. Okay, guys, that was the summary of Buttercup. Now we're going to revert to what we usually do and get a little background on Ben, because a lot of people think Ben is here every day and this is his job. But before we get that, are you from out here? I never did ask you.
Yes, I grew up in Santa Monica, actually.
Okay, local boy. So, and a little bit about your educational background, because most folks do not know what you do. So I think they would like to know this.
My educational background.
Where did you go, like to college and, things like that? Come on.
I'm a Harvard boy. So I went to Santa Monica High School.
It's raining.
Yeah. I went to Harvard. I was a Russian history and literature major, if that's at all interesting.
Yes, it is.
After graduating, I went to Russia. This was in 1991 with the intention of staying for 3 months and then coming back and going to grad school. Ended up staying for 4 years.
I never knew that.
Surprise. And then came back, did a year of an international studies program, decided that was useless, went to law school, again to Harvard, graduated in 1999 with the intention of actually working in international law with Russia. And then in 1998 I had a change of heart and ended up coming back to Los Angeles and just working in a law firm. I worked in just private law firms for 5 years. And then in 2004, made a switch to going as a staff attorney, or not really a staff attorney, but working in one of the medical school departments at UCLA, handling intellectual property matters and legal compliance. And I made that switch mostly because in the beginning of 2004, I was kind of handed the presidency of Kid and Rescue, which had been in existence for 7 years. But the existing president at the time, the founder, wanted to take a step back and hand over the reins to somebody else, and they just kind of all went, that guy.
Which we're going to get into in a
Right.
second of how you got into that.
So
You're still
needed more free time just to balance kind of work life, because I've been a volunteer for Kid and Rescue from the beginning and am a volunteer to this day. So, been on the board of directors for almost 16 years, been the president for 15 years. And
you brought up a word, volunteer.
Have not drawn a dime from Kid and Rescue.
Okay, there you go, guys. So Ben, this is not his job, although he's here whenever he can be. And he is a volunteer, which is even more interesting. So,
well, just to flesh that out a little bit.
Yes, please.
You can't really say it's not my job. I just don't get paid for it.
No, that's what I meant. It's
like,
not your job.
I'm still working many, many hours a week on Kid and Rescue, but I do a lot of things outside of this room. And this is a large organization. We rescue over 1,000 cats a year. We do 1,000 adoptions a year. We have a budget of about $1 million a year. We spend $250,000 to $300,000 on medical alone every year. Like there's a lot of stuff that has to be done, a lot of decisions that have to be made.
Right.
A lot of personnel issues, volunteer issues. So I don't have a lot of downtime.
I know that, and that makes it even more commendable. We're getting rained on, just in case you wonder why I keep moving around, because I'm sitting in wet, but that's it. Okay, how did you first hear about Kid and Rescue, or how did they hear about you, and how did this all come about?
A complete random chance. So I graduated law school in '99, moved back to Los Angeles, and once I got an apartment, a place to live, I was like, need cats, right? I grew up with cats.
That's okay.
I was born into a house with cats, and there's baby pictures of me like in a baby chair with a big cat on my lap.
And you did not bring them.
I did not bring them. These are old
we have to have another interview.
Old black and white photos. I could probably find some and upload those. They're cute, and it sort of explains everything. And had cats my entire life, all the way up until I went to college, and then obviously as a college student that's not really possible, so there was a good 11-year gap where I had no cats, and then once I came back and got settled, I was like, okay, I get to do cats now. So this is 1999, this is kind of really when cat adoptions were looking to see who had signs outside of pet stores, and while you were driving around, there was a place near where I was living, and Kid and Rescue was showing there.
Oh.
So I go in, and there's a bunch of people with crates and cats, and I saw 2 kittens that I really liked, and adopted them. And that was it. That was supposed to be it. until 2002, when one at my law firm, it was 2002. One of my coworkers pulled the oldest trick in the book on me, something I would never fall for now, but at the time I was new. And she said, "Hey, I know you like cats," because I had pictures of them up in my office. And she's like, "I have 2 kittens that I found, and I'm going on vacation to Hawaii for a week. Can you just kitty sit for me?" I was like, "Okay, that sounds fun." So the answer to that now was no. And of course she came back and gave a song and dance about how her landlord wouldn't let her have them, and so I had them in my possession and they were mine now. So I did what I think was perfectly reasonable. I went back to that adoption place where I adopted them, and I was like, "I've got 2 kittens I don't want, they're not mine, can I give them to you?" This is August. So in August, you've been in kitten season for 5 months in the city, and nobody's got room to take on 2 extra kittens. And they very reasonably said, "You're already fostering them. Like, they're not yours, but they're already living at your house. You're already taking care of them. Why don't you just keep doing that and show them on the weekend and find homes that way?" Seemed perfectly reasonable. And I did it, and I found I actually enjoyed it. It was a great contrast to working in a law firm.
Oh,
It's a pretty soul-crushing existence. Just hanging out with a bunch of cat people on weekends, trying to place your kitties. So after I ended up not adopting them out, I ended up keeping them and foster family them, like a lot of beginning fosters do. But then I decided to just keep volunteering as a non-foster parent, just help out, see what I can do. And I think that kind of initiative is what kind of piqued the interest of the leadership at the time. It was like, oh, we got a live one here, he's willing to help. And just kind of kept giving me more and more jobs until they asked me to be on the board of directors, and then 3 years later.
And did you know what that is, being on the board? Was it?
Famous idea.
And then they said, would you like to be president?
Yeah.
And you said?
Didn't seem like there were very many other options.
And you've been the president since?
Since then, yeah.
What year though?
2004.
Oh my gosh, 15 years.
Yeah.
Happy 15 years. What does the job of president entail, in general?
It's evolved over time as the organization has grown. In 2004, it was about 500, 600 cats annually. We didn't own a property. It was 100% volunteer. We didn't have any staff. The first staff we hired was after we got the sanctuary, and we needed reliability. With volunteers, you can't guarantee reliability. So, what does the job entail?
Yeah.
It really entails kind of a combination of being on call constantly to handle medical issues, personnel issues, volunteer issues with public relations and adopters, and then organizational development, things like, with a $1 million budget, you have a lot that you have to do in order to try to keep things going. And I mean, there's a lot of lives that depend on it. If I don't do what I do, and it's not all on my shoulders, obviously. Kitten Rescue's got a huge team, tons of people, staff and volunteers who really bust their butts to make sure that we can continue saving the lives of
absolutely.
Animals. Yeah. But I mean, it means that there's just kind of a constant stream of things that need to be done, and not always enough time to do them all. You kind of have to pick and choose too.
That's right. And once you got the cam in the room, or Explore got involved, it opened Kitten Rescue up so people all over the world, the cam people, everybody watches. We have viewers who watch everything in here and the adoption center, and it's created.
Yes, I love the camera, the room, the Explore.org relationship and the whole concept, because it really gives a window into what goes on kind of behind the scenes. Less in this room and more in the nursery, but here it still gives you that window because it gives people the opportunity to interact with us and hear from us and communicate with us and find out all of the things that go on before the kitties get put up for adoption. So like seeing the families getting raised here when they're just like a week old, and seeing them go through kitten illnesses and learning about them, I think is great. It just teaches people that this is hard work, but it's good work and very valuable.
Exactly. I mean, I've learned so much since I've been volunteering for 5 years, because I started, my first family was Aziza and that lovely group. And I think I've interacted with everyone, and I've learned so much. And I'm glad I have the privilege, via you or Esther, sometimes to let people know about things going on, because everybody else is so busy, and we don't want to let the people down. And when I mentioned you were going to be interviewed, I was inundated with questions. So yeah, and some of them you have answered already. Like, can you tell us how you found? And now there are just some odds and ends of interesting questions that I want to ask you. Autumn, who adopted Lena, and she's now Teddy. Remember they went to Tennessee the night that Sandra picked him up for me and went on the plane, and then the plane had to go somewhere else. Anyway, she wrote, I am so impressed with the number of kittens KR is saving each year and wonder if there are long-term implications. Like, are there enough homes? Will all these spayed and neutered kittens reduce the overpopulation? So I guess my question is, what are the long-term implications of saving and neutering all these little guys?
That's a wonderful question, because Los Angeles is a very, very favorable environment for homeless cats and kittens, because other than today, the weather is fantastic, and it's a big, dense city, which means there's lots of food sources for them. So Los Angeles has a huge feral cat overpopulation problem, and every year they just pop out litter after litter after litter of kittens. People find them, don't know what to do, bring them to the animal shelter, and if they're under 4 weeks old, the shelter doesn't have the staff and personnel to keep them alive. They will euthanize them unless they get rescued within a few hours, and that's where groups like ours come into play. So even by taking 1,000 cats and kittens a year sounds like a lot compared to the intake in the shelters. It's not a huge amount. And then there's all the ones that don't end up in the shelters but are still out there. So it does make a difference. And over the course of the last 5 years, 6 years now, when a coalition of local rescues working together with the Best Friends Animal Society really came together, started developing their programs, Best Friends providing grants. That's how we opened the nursery. That's how we opened the adoption center, or partially how we opened the adoption center. But looking at the impact on the data and looking at what the data was to try to make better decisions and have a greater life-saving impact. And we've gone from, in 2011, when 1 out of 3 cats that found their way into the city shelter system would come out alive, to now when it's 5 out of 6 cats come out alive. So yes, it's making a difference, but to really comprehensively make a huge difference, you then have to start getting the ones who don't make it into the shelter system, which are the unaltered ones on the street, trapping, fixing, and either releasing them if they're feral and not friendly, or rehoming them if they are friendly.
Yeah, because a lot of people watch the cam and they say this one thing over and over again. I don't understand it. How can they not be all adopted by now? They're so cute and everything. And I've sometimes said, multiply that times, many hundred, and there are just so many cute, adorable kitties that...
Yeah, we don't really know what the ceiling is on the market for kitten adoptions. We haven't reached it yet, but there are a lot of groups other than ours who do cat and kitten adoptions.
Sure.
So it's very unusual for us to have kittens not get adopted. They're in the camera room. They're going to get moved to a foster home where someone's really going to market them and interact with prospective adopters on a one-on-one basis, and they're going to find homes that way. And then we'll bring new ones in here.
Exactly.
The ones that are harder are the adult rescues, because just the demand for adults is less, and if they have any health or behavioral issues, then it's really problematic. Like, I'm not worried about Lois growing old in foster care or in the rescues care, because she's amazing.
She's wonderful. Cat.
She's gorgeous. She's so sweet.
She was a good mama even in the nursery. She was wonderful.
Yeah, but some of the harder cases, like some of the sponsorship cats that we have in there, their prospects are fairly slim,
But compared to where they would be, or if they were still in the street, this is heaven for them.
Yeah.
The sanctuary is just absolutely amazing. A question that, talking about adoption, and somebody asked, I think it was Kelly, but I'm not sure. So, have you found it true that there are less adoptions of black kitties, or is it now hopefully an old wives' tale?
I've never had someone come in, or I shouldn't say never, but it's virtually never that someone comes in and says, I don't want black because I'm superstitious, or I heard black cats are bad luck. So that doesn't happen anymore. And we haven't looked at the data, but I think either it was the ASPCA or the Humane Society, somebody did actually look at adoption data to see if black cats have a hard time getting adopted was true. And you know what they found? It's torties that have the hardest time.
Are you hearing this?
Tortoiseshells.
Torties?
My favorites.
Why?
And because they're funny looking and they're a little crazy. So
oh no.
The thing about black cats is it's a very common coloration. So you just have a large supply of them, and it can help give the appearance that, oh, you've got a bunch of black cats, that must mean that people aren't adopting them.
Yeah.
But no, we're not finding black cats that we rescue as kittens growing old in our organization.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And you mentioned also about your torties, so now we have a question.
Yeah, that's a different ballgame.
We have a question from Tracy, or For Meow's mom, who loves you.
I know Tracy.
Do you have a limit just 2 questions. Do you have a limit of how many pets and animals you have at your home, or do you just take in whoever needs a place there? We're talking about your home.
Yes. Now, I have a feeling that Tracy knows better than to ask a question like this.
And I probably do too, but I'm.
But the answer is I would say it's kind of a moving target, but it's a target that is moving down. And
what?
Well, the reason is because I've been doing this for 15 years, right, or 16 years. I've lost count. I've run out of fingers to count on how many years I've been doing this. And in the early days, I was a very active foster. I did a lot, rescued multiple litters of kittens a year. And what happens is, over time, you start to accumulate some unadoptables. They develop a health problem or a behavioral problem, and boom, all of a sudden, the market drops out for them. And so, and this is not unusual for people who do high volume rescue year after year after year, is they start ending up with a bunch of cats that are just going to eventually die in their house. And when that's the case, you really shouldn't be taking more in, because then you're kind of crossing a line. So
what's going on in your house right now?
So in my case, like last year, I probably rescued 2 or 3 litters of kittens, 1 litter of puppies,
oh, yeah.
and then a couple of singles here and there, which is a far cry from the 50 or 60 I used to do in the early 2000s.
Do you find that you miss having a lot in the house? How many do you have right now?
I'm not answering that question.
Oh, okay.
Never ask a rescuer how many cats they have.
Oh, okay.
That's just a blanket
Because you
rule.
told me I
It's
could
like
ask you
asking
anything,
no,
but that's
it's
okay.
like asking someone how much they
No,
weigh.
I know.
Like, you just don't do that.
I know, but I mean,
I will tell
do
you how
have
many
dogs?
permanent residents I have.
Oh, that's what I meant, is how many
Oh, okay.
do you, your own, have of your cats?
I should know this off the top of my head. It's either 7 or 8.
Okay, that's cool. No, I didn't
And,
mean the fosters. I meant how
okay.
many do you have?
Okay, yeah. And all of them are rescue cats from Kitten Rescue, from my
Well, that's
time
good.
at Kitten Rescue.
Now, she had another question, and I mentioned it to you earlier this week, and it's going to be about which rescue, kitty, animal story, etc., has affected you or touched you the most, or are there a few that really, a great rescue story that got to you? I know that's tough, and that's why I mentioned
tough.
it earlier.
There is one that always comes to mind, but it's a really intense story. I'll tell it, but it's kind of harmless. So this was I think 8 years ago, because I only had 1 dog at the time, and it was, I think, November maybe, and I get a call. One of our volunteers, Darla, it's her birthday, and so she's driving around like with birthday brain, and she sees a cat lying in the gutter. So she pulls over, because she's a cat lady, that's what you do, even though it's your birthday, figuring she was going to find a dead cat and have to like call someone to get it picked up, but the cat was alive. So then she's like, what do I do? I know exactly what to do. She calls me and says, I'm on my way to your house with a cat I just found in the gutter who can't move. It's my birthday. I don't have time to deal with this. So she shows up with this cat, and I mean, she's this scrawny black and white cat, can't move,
Oh.
seems completely paralyzed, dirty, pupils really dilated, but no signs of like
Drama?
Yeah, like it really couldn't tell, but still it seemed like a decent assumption that it was trauma and her spine was broken, and in fact she was not going to survive. So I bring her to a 24-hour vet and got somebody who was on the ball, because they looked in her eyes and saw some uveitis, just this little markings in her eyes, and he said, I think this is infectious. This is not trauma. We also took x-rays and didn't see any broken bones. That helps. And we tested her for the 2 most common kinds of infection that cause paralysis, toxoplasmosis and cryptococcus, and it was cryptococcus, screaming high number for her cryptococcus titer. Cryptococcus is a fungal infection that cats get from eating or food that comes in contact with bird poo. So anyone who has bird poo in their diet should listen to this, because you should stop, or at least cut it down to moderate levels, right?
Oh.
So, but it's treatable. It's just a long course of a treatment, 6 to 18 months
Wow.
of antifungals. This cat couldn't move, so that meant she couldn't eat on her own. She couldn't obviously use a litter box or anything like that. So I would strap in for the long haul. She needs to be syringe fed. She has to get fluids to keep her hydrated, and I have her on like beds with weeby pads like this, and start the treatment. And just after a few days, we get her first motion out of her.
Oh.
She makes biscuits with her paws.
Oh,
and
I'd be crying by then.
Like she can't move her body, but she's expressing like, "Thank you, I'm happy," and she starts making biscuits. And then, you know, after a couple weeks, she's able to prop herself up on her front legs. She still can't walk, still can't eat on her own, still can't see, but she's like just starting to get stronger and stronger with all of this care. I named her Olive, and because I'll live. Like,
Oh, okay.
but olive, like also olives.
Got it.
And I would put her in a cat bed and just let her hang out in the living room. And at the time I was fostering a litter of kittens, and they loved her. They would just pile on her because she was a
Aw.
captive audience, like the puffs.
Yeah.
Couldn't go anywhere. And she would, when she gained enough motion that she could lick them, she would groom them and mother them while purring and making biscuits. Just a sweet cat. And this went on for, you know, like this routine of syringe feeding her, giving her fluids, changing her weeby pads, changing her beds for a couple months before she was finally able to like wobble and stand on her own. And I still remember, I think it was 3 months in, when she actually walked over and used a litter box for the first time and also ate out of a food dish for the first time. It just, felt
Wow.
like a complete miracle. And then like 2 weeks after that, she died.
Oh, no, don't say this to me. Say what happened?
So I get a call from my girlfriend. I'm at work, and she's like, "You have to come home now. I think Olive's dying." So and then like a minute later, she calls. She's like, "She's already died." So I came home. We brought her to the vet that had been seeing her, and he was like, I want to do an autopsy. I'm not going to charge you." So we opened her up and found that her heart was completely misshapen. Just, it was either from the infection or just congenital defects. It was, he said, that she lasted this long is amazing. This thing was a ticking time bomb, and I can't believe that like she made it this long.
Wow.
And it was like just all that work and all that progress, just to see it snatched away like that. But I thought about it and I was like, I would do it again,
Sure.
right? Like
I got it. I understand that.
the last, she got to live with some dignity. She got to enjoy the presence of kittens. She got to enjoy us.
Love. She enjoyed love.
And she got to overcome her paralysis, eat on her own, and so like, even if I knew that it was, she had that ticking time bomb in there, I would still do it and give her that life. So
What a great,
that's 10 years.
an
and that's
incredible
just,
story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing it. Tracy had one more, which is totally a different kind of question. What's your
How many
favorite?
cats do I have?
No, her next question.
Thank God.
Your favorite treat: cookies, cake, chocolate, etc., or your favorite treat?
My favorite treat?
I don't know where that came from, but yes, that's what you wanted. Oh, jeez.
I'm part of the problem is I've been vegan for several years, and that sort of eliminates like almost everything delicious. But I am a sucker for berry pies.
Okay.
So good tart cherry pie, if it's vegan, is probably
Okay,
my
hear
favorite
that,
dessert.
Tracy? So figure it out, freeze it, and mail it.
No, don't
No.
mail me pies.
She knows I'm kidding. But that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, I have to watch the time, but I have several other good questions.
All right, I'll talk faster.
No. Well, one of them has pretty much been answered about Love for Paws, Hope and Robert back in Virginia, who have outfitted the Puffs most of their
Yes.
lives. But again, it's basically how does it contract from one adult cat that has a virus to another if they don't share litter boxes? But we kind of know that also if they
Well, actually, no, that's a good question because
wait, if they don't,
it's about how does
like in the
leukemia get passed
sisters.
around.
Yeah.
It's shed through primarily in saliva. You can get litter box transmission, but that's very, very unusual. So almost exclusively is through saliva. So in the wild, like with street cats, you're likely to get it from fighting. A cat that's leukemia positive biting another cat is depositing virus right into the bloodstream. In a shelter environment, you're going to get it from grooming, or maybe if they're sharing the same food dish at the same time. The virus dies very quickly on exposure to air, so it doesn't live outside the environment.
That's my question.
long.
Like if a cat who has it sneeze.
If a cat sneezes on me, and then like 3 minutes later I pet another cat, that cat's not going to get it. Even if that cat licks me, the virus probably.
Is there any way the virus to a person?
No, people can't get this. It's feline leukemia virus. In addition, most adult cats who are exposed to the virus don't get sick from it. They have a successful immune response, and again, it's thought that it requires repeated direct contact.
What's considered? Is 1 year considered an adult cat? There's what is considered the age? It's now an adult cat.
There's well, if they're Jewish, it's after the bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah. No, it's usually, we consider it 2 years. So we think they're kittens up to 6 months, teenagers up to 2 years, which is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but that last 6 months there, but that could be adult, but 2 years seems to be like a decent cutoff,
Okay, that's interesting.
But most cats who are exposed to the virus, their immune system just says, nope, not today. And the literature says, the medical literature says that only 30% of cats who are exposed end up infected with the virus. And then once they're infected, you can still have successful immune responses either in the first order or in the second order. So, it's a virus that's been around for as long as people have been looking for cat viruses, but it's not super widespread because it's hard to contract.
Yeah, because she had asked about the life expectancy.
Buttercup is a real mystery. And then the life expectancy question, that's a question that like 10 years ago I would have given you a different answer. 10 years ago I would have said it's 1.5 years because that was our experience. But you've met Reezy, you've met these guys in our leukemia room. These guys live to be like 10, 12, 15.
Then we had Holly who made it to a little past 2 or 2.5, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, well Holly was born with it. Yeah. So she was positive from the get-go. Buttercup was if she was born with it, it was latent. But she and her sisters, so cats who contracted as adults will live longer.
Have a better chance.
Yeah, of living longer. Plus, a cat that's getting the therapy that we're going to give her has a much better chance of living longer. I'm still optimistic. I think we're going to come out of this and Buttercup is not going to have it. Because there isn't an obvious vector of transmission. We've had this experience this year where a cat's gotten sick, tested positive, and then they get better and they test negative again. And these tests that we're doing, the antigen test, they're looking for proteins. It's unknown what other proteins mimic this and will produce the results that look like that. So, I mean, I have no reason to believe it's not the leukemia virus, but again, we're not dealing with certainties here, we're dealing with probabilities.
Well, where there's hope, there's hope. Yeah. Somebody asked a question, Eagle Girl, but I'm not quite sure now, because she just did it, and how does someone go about getting started with a rescue care and adoption center? Now I'm wondering if she means literally starting their own or getting started, because getting started, just go get involved, volunteer. I don't know about setting one up, so I'm not quite sure about the question, to be honest.
How was it phrased?
I copied it. How does someone go about getting started with a rescue care and adoption center?
I'm gonna
because it's obvious starting it.
Starting it that's a really complicated question. Getting involved and I wouldn't start one without having been involved with one for a while, just to try to learn.
You need the background and the experience.
Yeah, and if you want to start one yourself, there's no better way to do that than to learn what the other people are doing. So going and paying attention and asking questions is a great way.
That's what I figured.
To learn. But I mean, almost every shelter or nonprofit organization is going to have some kind of volunteer program where they will welcome you. Now, it is also true that a lot of these places are not going to have a lot of administration put into that volunteer program because you're so focused on the rescue work and then the fundraising work to support the rescue work that this kind of internal administration of a volunteer program takes like second fiddle, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have that problem perpetually. Like, we have a very difficult time processing new volunteers, getting them involved, keeping them involved.
And keeping them.
And what we find is that it really mostly relies on people who are extremely self-motivated because of the animals, right? And the ones who aren't really self-motivated and need someone to like handhold them and get them in and keep them active, we just don't have the resources for that, which is unfortunate. I would love to be able to have more people involved, but it's, you know.
Somebody just texted me a question. Are all kitten rescue kittens vaccinated against feline leukemia?
No, so the leukemia vaccine is one of the ones that's on the list of non-core vaccines, which is the Veterinary Medical Association's way of saying, we don't really think this helps very much. And when the Veterinary Medical Association represents veterinarians, and if they say this thing that we can make money from is something that we don't really recommend you doing, I think that kind of tells you something.
Exactly.
But the reason for that is, and again, I periodically review the medical literature.
That's
one of the nice things
you,
of working at UCLA Medical School is I have access to everything. And they're not even sure that the vaccine works.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Well, the stats, the statistics, published statistics, which come from the manufacturer who do the studies, says that the vaccine is 70% effective. But unvaccinated adults have an 85% chance of throwing off the virus.
Ooh.
So how is it that the vaccine is less effective than the natural immune system? It doesn't make a lot of sense. The core vaccine, the FERCP vaccine that we give,
right.
There the data is a lot more supportive for it being effective, and the consequences are also a lot more clear when you don't give that. But the leukemia vaccine, you know, it's the best way, and all the shelter medicine protocols say this, is through testing. Testing just separates out the positives and the negatives.
Yeah.
The problem with testing is, if testing is, say, 99.8% accurate, that sounds like a really high number, but that means that 1 in every 500 test results is going to be wrong. And if you rescue 1,000 cats a year, that means 2 of those might end up bad. Yeah. So testing is very safe, and it's a lot more accurate than vaccination.
Good. That's a good question.
But it's not foolproof.
No. Couple of more. By the way, I will have no coat to wear home, as these 2 ruffians
better your coat than mine.
Eating my coat. At least I haven't peed in it. Okay. Couple of quick ones. We have all the free roamers in-house right now. Mm-hmm. What are the chances that any of them will be allowed to come out to free roam while the situation with Buttercup is what it is?
The chances are very good. Right now, I'm just trying to build up the courage to like open the cages. And it's because, I mean, if we look at this rationally, since everyone else has retested negative, except Gabriel had that really faint,
slight, yeah.
I mean, like
he's got
almost
his own
imperceptible
problems too. Yeah.
A doctor with bad eyes would have said that's negative. That it should be completely safe. And Buttercup is as long as they don't jump and hang out with her, you know, the people have to be mindful of that, or we have to cover her.
Well, we always have to watch if they're out. Yeah.
But I mean, it should be really safe, and it's just, we're kind of taken aback by this happening, and so I haven't been quick to do it. Rocky looks like he's getting adopted though.
Yes, I know.
One of our staff members is like,
I love
yes.
Rocky, love.
Yeah.
And then probably a couple of them might go in the adoption center. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think Regina actually
she
is going to end up in the
people have seen me with her. She's these two. Okay, I'm getting.
But we will do.
But
the thing is, the free roaming is going to end as soon as the kids start coming in.
Always.
Which is probably 6 or so weeks from now.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We had the free roamers in the off season.
Yeah.
Now, here's the final question, and I think it's a good one, from Praline in Australia. You know, our friend who comes down here every other year. This was a big year for kitten rescue in 2018 with the adoption center opening. Any big plans for 2019? More to the point, any more expansion or renovation of the current site?
That is also an excellent question
to end it with.
One of the limitations of the space, and unfortunately, you know, we can't really see it on the camera, but We use every square inch of this place. Like even finding room for the adoption center. There was the old garages and the old leukemia room was there, so we had to move the leukemia cats, take space away from the social room cats, and lose storage space. We don't really have that much storage space here.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we can't expand upwards without going through an absolutely insane permitting process and public hearing process, which will take a long time, plus all it takes is one neighbor to say, oh, second floor for your cat facility? And we can't do it. So we've been, and also just getting construction permits on a property that was built, up in the 1920s and might not be 100% up to code. Should I be saying this on camera?
Yeah,
everything's up to code and is perfect.
Yes, there we go.
So this is kind of a rambly way of saying that we have the ability to do some fiddling with the internal configuration.
Right.
But doing like expanding space is going to be really hard. So they're doing some work on the office right now just to make a better work environment.
And that's such a tiny room, you guys, as it is.
We have a project. We really need to expand our isolation space in the main sanctuary kitchen so that we have more than 4 isolation cages for medical cases and for new rescues, which is also we can't build up. We just have to rejiggle the configuration.
It'll work somehow.
Yeah.
I just got I was going to.
So I wouldn't say there's big plans that we're going to create like a completely new space that didn't exist before, but we do have some plans to try to optimize this really cramped, crowded space that we have right now. Yeah.
Quick question, I was going to end it, but...
And apparently we have to fix the leaky roof.
Oh, yes, because you guys have been rained on. I'm trying to be cool about it, but I'm sitting in piles of water, so I brought extra pants before. Kinder just texted and wants to know, how do you feel about Pearlie being adopted yesterday? Or was it yesterday? Yeah, sorry.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
It was yesterday.
She just wants to know how you feel about that.
I had been musing taking Pearlie home.
Ooh.
Myself, not to adopt, but just because every time I brought a dog here, she would just come out to greet them. And I thought life without dogs for Pearlie is not as good as life with dogs. And I've got all these cat-friendly dogs.
Yeah.
And she's, she would love it at my house. Because she would just get along great with them. And I just, I never did it because I know Pearlie was such a favorite here, and especially after we lost Belle.
Right.
So seeing her go to a home with dogs, I just think is absolutely magnificent. I'm really, really happy.
And I hope we get updates. I know a lot of people are interested. But people have to understand. They're always saying, "How come we never hear from?" I said because you can't force people when they adopt or foster to keep giving updates to the people.
What often
some
happens,
do, but
what often happens is we get updates kind of in the immediate aftermath of the adoption, and then people just kind of like, do I really still need to be updating this crazy rescue group?
Except for Kendra and myself.
Well,
we keep
Charlie there are some people. Tomorrow, we're gonna have a visitor here, hopefully, unless she cancels because of the rain. Someone who adopted a cat from me. This was in 2004 because I was still living in my apartment in Santa Monica, and I got updates from her all the way up through the time the cat passed away, and still, it does happen. It's just not 100%
oftentimes, Lindsay will send me something from one of the nursery ones, and I post it on the board because people they fall in love with the cats that we have, even though they're not seeing them, they want to know what happens.
As someone who's fostered a lot. Like, it's something that I have to just come to terms with, is I develop attachments to my foster cats. They get adopted out. I might never get a single update. I might, but I can't count on it. And there is kind of a letting go that you have to do over and over and over again. And, especially with like the ones that I raise from when they're 1-2 days old, they're open their eyes, the first things they see are me. Or the times when I've raised puppies, because puppies, unlike cats, really show their attachment. They wag their tail when they see you. They get very, very excited. And having to let them go, really, sometimes it does feel like you're letting a family member go.
It does. It's very emotional.
And it's hard, but it is something that when you do this, you come to terms with. And I always look at it as I'm making space for someone else who, without my help, would not survive.
That's exactly it. So on that note, because we have gone just about an hour, which is very exciting, I want to ask you a question. Would you be willing maybe every 3 to 4 months to do this so we can get an update on life here at Kitten Rescue? Because there's nobody better than yourself to let us know. And I know we have a lot of people who watched it. It's recorded. I'm going to be reposting it several times for people who can't watch it. And this has been a good, informative hour. Would you be willing to do this just 2-3 times a year?
Absolutely not.
Yes. But not on a rainy day.
Yes, of course.
This will never happen again. And now when we leave here, though, in about 2 minutes, these 2 little guys are going to, from what I understand, the adoption center, unless that changed in the last hour.
Because we just bought 7 more kittens in there?
Yeah, well, and Mama?
Well, one did get adopted today, so at least one. We'll see.
And Mama is going somewhere. I guess I'll let Esther or you or whoever really does know.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Mom's going.
No,
and I guess we're bringing the 3 in that have been in.
Yeah, you guys are going to be very happy to see who's coming in. I haven't said anything. I know them. They're coming from the intake room of the nursery. They're so cute, and their colors are so cute.
Yeah. Well, these are 3 that have indeterminate leukemia status also.
You hear that?
Indeterminate. So that's why we can't just add the 3 to these guys. So, but they've been in that double cage
there
for a long
forever,
time, and they get to stretch their legs.
And because they're coming in here with leukemia status, they can still have visitors.
Yeah, of course.
As long as we wash up.
As long as the visitors aren't cats, it should be fine.
No, thank you.
Sure.
My friend, thank you. And this was great. I know you're busy. We left a bunch of stuff in the nursery.
Right. So if we do this every 3 months, 3 months from now will be
March,
May.
April, May.
We will be in the thick of kitten season, so that'll be an interesting one.
Yes, it will. And it'll be, you know, it's funny because I'm working the nursery, and there's some days where I don't want to say you have nothing to do, but you have nothing to do. And I can't wait. Even though it's sad, you see all these babies. I just can't wait to see them all come in, and we're all helping them.
Yeah, I still get excited for the first litter of bottle babies. Yeah. After that, I get a little less excited, but the first litter is still.
Well, yeah, because then comes the pooping, and you're sitting there and you're doing
it. It's just nice to see the babies again.
Golly. Okay, whoever sees me leaving, I'm gonna have a wet butt. Look at this. I think we better.
Is this how all your interviews end?
Yes.
Talking about your wet butt.
With my wet butt. Look at it. It's hard to tell. It's coming from a couple of places.
Well, it's coming from the vent. I mean, you can see the water.
Over here?
One's probably dropping here and splashing.
Yeah, could be, but I hope they can clean it up. Okay,
yeah,
guys.
The vent is the only thing that punches through, so.
So the room is going to be cleaned soon. The little kitties are leaving, as we are. And,
thank you everybody for watching.
And we will do this again. Here comes Esther, we're done.
Yeah. Hey Ben?
Yeah.
Do you want to do the goodbyes with the people, and then we'll be taking the kittens out?
Sure. Where's Lois going?
She's going in the back for now.
Okay.
We have an enclosure set up for her.
Okay. You know about the leak?
In here.
I've heard about it.
Okay. All right.
Where's one and you have the other? Oh, here we go. I forgot who's who.
We're going to the adoptions.
Yay! I hope you can see.
So last year, in 7 months, the adoption center, we placed 150 kittens, which was pretty extraordinary.
People don't realize. I told them the adoption rate in there is very high.
Really high adoption.
They wanted a camera in there, but it was kind of, someone said, not a good idea because there are a lot of people that come in there to look and they may not want to be on the camera.
Yeah,
which is understandable.
We talked about that, and just because it is a place where we have basically people coming in off the street, it seems a little big brothery to just be filming them at all times.
But we take pictures. I go in there and I take pictures and videos. So
yeah, and Dawn maintains a really good Instagram feed.
Oh, she sure does.
For the adoption center, KRAC_LA.
Right. And
posts a lot of great pictures and videos. It's really worth following if you're on Instagram, as well as obviously the Kitten Rescue Instagram.
Don't embarrass us over there. We raised you very nicely. Bad things.
They might get to meet Regina. That'll be exciting.
Oh yeah, or Regina will put them in. Where's Mama? Oh, Mama. Mama temporarily, because I know everybody's asking, so then why don't you tell her? We'll be going to the sanctuary temporarily. She's going to have her own nice enclosure.
Yeah,
Yes.
what we're gonna learn is whether Mama, how she accepts other cats. So if she's really accepting of other adult cats that aren't her kids, then it's gonna make it much easier to give us a choice of either integrating her there, moving her to a different foster home. If she really doesn't like other cats at all, then we have to wait for the first opportunity to place her in a foster home that has no other kitties, or maybe get her into one of the
That's
adoption
true.
enclosures at the PetSmart. Just because, like, if she just sits there and makes biscuits on her bed like this, looking cute, she'll get adopted.
Oh, people don't realize that cats do get adopted out of the sanctuary. I'm just putting my shoes on. I've broken the rule. I'm going to have to do extra loads of laundry in the nursery, but I just couldn't come in with wet socks. And besides, these guys are leaving right now, and the room will be cleaned.
Do you have to leave a carrier for them?
No, it's pouring out there, so there's nothing. I think she's going to come and get them, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, this was. Oh. Next time you pick a date, look far into the future to make sure that it's not.
Well, because of my work schedule, it needs to be on a weekend.
Oh no! I said the rain.
Oh.
Like you could tell. No, yeah, it is coming down.
In Los Angeles,
Here
like,
comes Esther with the carriers, so we're all gonna. I know the cam's still on. Thank you.
Oh, look at her, she's making bread.
Yeah,
These are the two or all three?
Huh?
Two or all three? These are the boys in here?
Yeah.
Oh,
They're going to the adoption center,
Right.
and Lois is going back in the sanctuary.
All right, so we'll take
do we have a carrier?
these two out, bring the carrier back, take her, or should I load all
I
three
have
up?
a carrier.
Oh, cool.
Because Dawn's not in there right now, she's showing people someone in the back.
Okay.
So they're just gonna stay in the carrier in there until she's ready to go in there. And she can put nail polish because someone can tell them.
And the Cavina 7 are in there already, right?
Wait,
The new ones?
Mama's going to the sanctuary. Say bye-bye. I'll come see you Monday, okay?
No, these are just curtains, and they're just
Say,
gonna go
can
in
you
that
see?
little front area of
Yeah.
the adoption center where you close it.
Okay. Whoops. Mama
Yep.
says, wait, I don't want to go in the rain. It's going to ruin my hair.
I like that, the Covina 7. She's like,
It's okay, Mama. You want to take a mouse with you? Here.
actually, I'll take that blanket she was kneading on, and
So,
then
yeah.
This one?
yeah.
And the bed too, may as well, right?
Take her couch. Does she have a suite? Okay, Mommy, it's okay.
Who didn't see that coming?
Okay, I'm gonna get it. I have to, it's kind of wet on the floor because I was sitting in the wet. Okay, everyone.
And they're gonna start leaping at around 1:15, 1:30, and then we're gonna go. Okay.
Okay.
Lois, Kate, let her have her blanket.
Oh, Lord, what else is mine is in here?
Come, Mama. And then we have to start breaking this down, and then we have to get ready for the other tasks coming in here.
Yeah, and what is breaking it down into?
Well, normally it means taking everything out of the room,
Into the rain?
but today this is not an option.
Yeah. Well, the rain came to us.
Well,
Yes, it did.
I'll ask him, Eric, to go up there and take a look.
Yeah, that's just whatever that thing is poking through, just probably the seal. Is
Yeah,
a little-
see,
So what we need to do here is get out everything that can be washed and take it back to the wash area. So the blankets, beds, shark, tunnel, rug. This, I am going to find somewhere to put where,
This tree?
yeah, everything comes out, everything. And then I think I have a scratcher and some beds, and then we'll try to find something else to bring in here
When are the kittens moving in?
this afternoon.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I updated the folks so they know that. Okay, what do you?
This is because of
Yeah.
the ringworm that we had one, so everything comes out and
Oh,
everything.
it rained. This thing is so. This probably should.
It all has to go.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it must have rained right on the shark.
Well, sharks are used to water.
Yeah,
There you go.
That,
Claire makes an excellent point.
What about toys?
They all just go in the wash.
Okay, there's poison.
If it can be washed, you can wash it.
My umbrella's still out there?
And I think that sofa is gonna go to Claire and Brenda.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll like it. Oh, and maybe I'll put this tree on the inside too. Yeah, I'll brush it down in here, spray the heck out of it with that cell.
Can we rain wash it?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Little LA acid rain, just clean it right up.
Okay, what else is left? Oh, look. What about these? I think the wood scratchers are here.
If you were my shoe, where would you have gone? Oh.
See, that's why I have mine on right now. Is my umbrella still out there? Probably. Okay. Okay, you guys. The room's gonna get stripped. The cam will go on looping.
Yeah, and all the litter, the litter should be thrown out, the food, the blah, 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 blah. And then the litter boxes go back in the wash. Yeah, and I don't look where, I don't really wear. You can take them, just not boogie.
No, I just want
The scratcher will just go in the back. He's gonna throw all this out and throw that out. Those will go in the back to be washed. These bowls will be washed here.
Right, so so something like this, does this go straight in or do you want to treat it first?
Everything is gonna be XL first.
Okay, but not in here.
In here.
Oh, okay.
With the window open so it doesn't get like weird. Because it's too, I know, it's a thing.
I know. These are really important.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this and donate it to the kids in the back. Like Mickey. Sorry, Iron. And then we're gonna brush these, spray these with Excel. Spray the dishes, wash the dishes, spray the dishes. I usually take that out and spray it with Simple Green, Simple Green, Simple Green. The walls, we do a whole big clean.
Okay.
It's very time
So wait,
consuming.
so this thing is coming, or spray first, then come out?
Yeah, it should be brushed and then sprayed.
Okay.
It looks just like a cat brush, which
Right.
I don't think we have one here.
Do you have a front condiment? Those are